Scott Fernandez. How you been, buddy? It's been a while.
I'm well. It's been too long, if I were to say, if I were to indicate my feelings.
You're one of those cats that it's like once we meet up somewhere like at a NAMM show or something, it's like we're just catching up where we left off.
Yeah. I think it's because I'm like an outdoor cat.
Right.
And I kind of just show up and then I leave.
Right.
You don't need to like consider me or like feed me. I'm fine out there, but also, don't get in my way. It's a weird issue. So.
And you and I both are kind of like oddballs somewhat in the bass world.
Oh, for sure. Especially in like the South.
Yeah. People either really love what we do or they really hate what we do and not a whole lot of in between.
That's true. Thank goodness. I love being polarizing for everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Bass is odd like that.
Yeah. How did you go from, I've seen your old pictures, like 4 and 5 string to the big tree trunks.
That's funny. So this is actually a story I vaguely enjoy telling because it's funny to me. But I had quit music for like a long time. And, I went off and did the school thing and like did the marriage thing. And then, and sold all my basses. Like, I'm done. Music is stupid.
Right.
And then, some years later, a buddy of mine's band was like, hey, we need a bass player. And I borrowed a 7-string on a whim, right? I went from, like, no bass at all. All I had was, like, a 4-string that was in a buddy's closet, like, 2 states away, to borrowing a 7-string to play these shows with a band called Lover's Ball. And then this other band invited me out, like this kind of like the Deer Hunter band, and they were like, yeah, can you play bass? I was like, sure. And I had my 12-string built, like started basically that day.
Wow.
So I was like, and it was on a whim. It wasn't like I never really tried any. It wasn't like something that I'd ever always wanted by any means. It was more of a, yeah, sure. What's the most I can do with absolutely no preparedness?
All right.
And then during the course of that build, like I think it was like maybe 11 months is how long it took Chris to make it, Chris Benavente.
That's actually pretty quick.
Yeah.
That's a quick turnaround. Yeah.
It was super fast, but on the now I know that now, but then I was like, oh my God, where's my bass? I'm losing my mind.
It's taking so long.
Yeah, like, I had no idea. It's my first. I had other basses made, but nothing like that,
Mm-hmm.
And so. After that was finally finished, the band that I had it made for kicked me out. Like, they were like, you're out of the band. You stand out too much. We're sick of your shit. And I was just like, the fuck? Like, I'm sorry that I'm trying to play shows, and I'm sorry that I am this human being. So I started the solo career kind of on out of spite.
Yeah.
Out of absolute spite for them. It was like, yeah, I'm going to do all the things that I was doing for them and then be super successful. And then I did. So, yeah. But it was very much a whim. It was very much kind of borderline on accident. Like, it was definitely not a hard line plan for me.
Yeah. Do you find, I know for me, like, we kind of had this conversation before.
Mm-hmm.
I play bass, but I'm not really bass obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more music obsessed.
Sure.
And that alone can kind of put a target on you because bass players almost have like this cult kind of thing going on, And even with me, like when I bring pedals to a session, it's like, oh crap, this guy's got pedals.
What's he gonna play like a real jerk?
He's gonna play like a jerk, and but no, like so I kind of. Even though I don't take as much heat as you do because I'm playing 4-string, I can relate to some of I get a lot of blowback.
Yeah. Well, I was actually thinking about this. I've thought about this a lot about you. It's like, I think you get more because the ire that you suffer is from, like, it's almost like disappointment ire. People go in knowing they're going to hate me, so it's easy to, like, change their mind. It's like, yeah, you just don't understand. I'm cool with that. We can talk. But yours is like, but I thought he was a bass player. And then you play awesome. And then it's like, but no, this is too much. which is very, very funny. The dude from Consider the Source, I think he suffers something similar. Like he shows up all awesome, and then like a similar, like, because of his project, he's fortunate he gets to spread his wings a lot. But like, in my imagining, he suffers something similar, being a very talented bass player, but something more akin to what people are used to, like visually. So, yeah, no, people, they've made up their mind. It's easy.
And too, I know for me, like people, because you and I have some visibility in the world of the bass world, and people already have, I know for me, these preconceived notions before they've even met me.
Absolutely.
Like I'm a highbrow jazz guy, and I'm going to look down my nose at you if you don't know what a tritone substitution is. I really could care less about any of that, to be honest with you.
So I get that. I have people that based on the way that I speak, I don't know what they assumed I would sound like, but based on the way that I speak, immediately assume I'm going to be an asshole to them. It's wild to me. I understand. I'm super pompous. I get it, but I don't treat anybody poorly.
Yeah.
I am a pompous ass, like in my face, not in like my music. I don't give a shit what anybody plays.
And it's like the art first. I can't speak for you, but I have a feeling it's this way. But for me, art is foremost on my mind. Absolutely. And the bass aspects aren't really that important to me. A lot of bass players are probably going to watch this. I'll get a lot of flack for that, but I really don't care. Because really, in the bass world, even though I'm a bass player, bassists see me, but I don't really seek out
of course,
bass stuff. Yeah. Really. If I hear something and I like it, I don't really care who it's from. It could be a K-pop artist or a jazz artist. If I like it because of what it is.
I'm right there with you. There's that interesting, like, you have to choose your lane if you're going to be like a traditional player or if you're going to be a crazy guy. And it's like, but I dig on the obvious traditional stuff because of course I do. But it's not what I practice alone at home, like, so I can do more. Like, yeah. My instruments reflect my desire to do more when I'm chilling. It doesn't mean I can't play the 1-4-5. It just means that I'm not sitting around doing it when I'm alone.
Right.
Like, Smoke on the Water is only so cool when the rest of them are there.
It's the same for me. Like, I practice a lot, but it's only because I like the challenge. Practicing is meditative for me, for one thing.
Sure.
But within the context of a song, I always do what's right because I'm using my ears.
Yeah.
And if something doesn't sound right, then I don't do it. You know, like if I'm throwing a bunch of technique at a song and it's not working, I'm just not going to do it. I'll play a whole note through the whole song if that's what's required of this tune.
Oh, agree. And I think that knowledge and that, like, we all have to learn the basics, forgive the pun, but like you have to start with, you know, your OGs and your traditional stuff, and then you can move on to the things that feed your soul or feed your happiness, probably. Because music feeds the soul. And I've said this for years. I don't know why nobody believes me, but I've been happier in country bands where I can't play anything except what works in my life than basically any other prog rock. Like from prog death metal bands to like tech death, like nothing. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm happier with those, like, you know, old school country. I grew up in Nashville when I started playing.
It kind of forces you to, the box is smaller for what you can do in that context.
For sure.
So what you play over it becomes smaller, and actually it's almost the less is more concept is what is. But, you know, have a good tone can say so much more in those situations. You know.
There's also, so for me, I'm such a lazy piece of shit. So for me, I really enjoy when music sounds good. And I like being a part of it, but I don't necessarily need to be a part of it. So when it comes to like playing for country bands or playing for blues bands, I'm happy to sit back. I just want this technique or this sound, my sound, to be in the song already.
Yeah.
If it could just happen with my head, I would have done that. I would have given up playing years ago if it just could have appeared on the track without me doing anything. And sometimes I hear a bass player or a bass line, I was like, yeah, that's what I would do. That's the best thing, obviously, because I think so highly of myself. So my band Fable Cry, they're currently recording. We're talking about backing out, and you get the initial mixes, maybe rough scratch guitar, things like that. You play to that. And then you get the later recordings. I was like, oh, there's so much more.
Yeah.
I have to redo everything. I need to shut up. So much more. I need to shut up immediately because I want the rest of the song to sing. Even if my part inspired the song, I want the song to sound best.
Yeah.
So playing in a band is different than when I play alone, for sure.
And plus because you and I both have some really good technique. I mean, but the trick and something I've aspired to for a while is if I'm using it in a band context, I want it to be something where if you're not seeing me do it, I don't want it to be noticeable.
For sure.
If that makes any sense.
The way I think about it. Yeah, I did this. I did like this triplet into quadruples pattern, slap pattern in the middle of this very sassy, spit song that we did. And unless you see us perform it live, you would have no idea.
You would have no idea.
And it's such a fun because at a point it kind of blends into the drums, but it's a funny part, not super complicated, but it's a fun and funny part that I like. And but yeah, doing that, throwing in techniques in a way that accent or emphasize the parts that are already there or the parts that you want to be there that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
What musicians have been doing for years.
Trying to make it so the technique isn't the showcase, but something that lends itself to the music.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
I can play alone if I wanted to show off. I don't want to show off. It's my least favorite thing. But if I wanted to wank at people, I can definitely do that.
You've got your wank outlet.
yeah, I got wank out. I'm prepared for that. Oh my God. So this is sorry to sidebar this, but I have a real issue with bass solos. People who I love it technically, but also I don't want to do it. Not that I can't, not that every time it's time for the bass, I'm like, please don't make me do this shit. Please, for God, don't make me do this shit. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not shy. Just I don't want to do it. Just you do more. You add 8 more bars to whatever you were doing. Yeah, I'll be happier there. So
I know for me in that situation, unless because I have my wank outlets too, which is my quartet. Mm-hmm. But sometimes when I'm in a certain situation, I'll feel like the band leader almost feels obligated to give me something. And if I'm looking around and the dance floor is kind of boogieing, I know what's going to happen when there's a bass solo. I know what's going to happen. Yeah, exactly. And they'll say, hey, do you want one? You want one? I'm like, no. Really?
Look at all the dancers.
Yeah. But so has the band Fable Cry, have they been starting to schedule gigs now again since the catastrophe we've been in?
So we were in the cancel climate, obviously, with everything that went down, and we had a tour. We had just booked our first decent tour, where we went playing. It's a mid-level band, maybe even top tier low, and it's doing really well. But we're time to step it up. So everything canceled. And I think they're looking towards middle, end of August kind of thing and kind of supplementing rather than doing long dates out. They were looking at just 2 days or 3 days just to cover what we had already had booked. But I don't even know if that's going to happen, honestly. So it's so nebulous.
I have so many mixed feelings about the whole thing, man. And I feel as strongly as you do about people not doing what they need to do to take care of everybody else. And I was booked up at least until after the first of next year, booked every week nonstop. And I was telling other people in these, that was 90% of what I did for paying my bills.
For sure.
And, the other 10% would maybe be studio here and there because studio scene isn't the same what it used to be. And when I first, And then, boom, it was nada.
Yeah. That is just kind of news.
And Now I feel like venues are starting to feel like they have no choice but to open again.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed they're starting to call musicians.
Mm.
And it's before phase 3.
Yeah, no, that's way too early. Especially for Nashville.
Yeah, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it puts you in an odd spot because, I mean, obviously, if you're collecting government insurance for your income, that's a part of the process. What if you get the call and then you say no, and they're like, "Oh, cancel your benefits." There are a lot of things going on, so it's a weird. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible, generally speaking. Yeah. Everything is stay home as much as you can.
And I have 3 high-risk individuals that live in my house.
Poor thing.
So if I get sick and come back, that could be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be a real problem.
Sure.
But at the same time, I feel like musicians just don't. I don't think enough was done.
No. Yeah, it's odd because Nashville is the spot for musicians to take care of musicians. So to see that location, Nashville, fail, it's like, well, there's no hope for anybody who's working somewhere else. Yeah. Entertainment was a shit show anyways, but like musicians. And side note, I was having a conversation with a dancer friend some years ago, and we were talking about like, what it's like to get a job as a dancer and things like that. And like, they're one of the most feast or famine professions in existence, right?
Yeah.
Like, you either have a job at a studio or in a troupe, or you're nothing.
Yep.
Right. And it's like, musicians are considered high tier for like a rate with which artists get paid, and we're all broke. Like, we're all so broke. So it's weird to imagine how bad it would be for like painters and dancers and things like that. We all are in the shittiest spots.
And leading up to this too, you know just as well as I do, music is worthless.
Yeah.
And here we are. All we can do is gig for money, and then we lose that. But selling records isn't going to do anything.
I'm close.
And my hope is that artists will be like, "Oh shit, yeah, we should have got that together way earlier." And I hope record labels too kind of think, well, maybe we should pay our artists what they're owed, what they deserve.
Great. Well, because there's the obvious, like, everybody can do it themselves, whatever bullshit logic that people like to throw around for why they won't pay musicians. But there's also like, well, there's a premium at what really talented or even like just working musicians offer. I'll take a working bass player in most situations just because like, I know they're going to do the right thing for whatever it is. So it's obviously you want to pay your whatever representatives for your work a premium. I know some of the like pop stars are doing that, but even that's, it's 10 gigs, 10 different artists maybe that can afford to hire a full band every go, So it's kind of rough. It's rough out there for everything. And that's about metal.
Yeah. And the moment I start to feel a little down or bad about my situation, I remember, oh shit, everybody's in this situation. Well, almost everybody.
Okay. Like, I know, the Nashville Cats, like Dave Pomeroy he's been hitting the pavement as much as he can. I know cats like Roy Revolt are out there advocating and preaching and trying to change policy. So it sucks, and there are some, but it's hard, and I would require unions and things like that. So we're in a weird spot with music. So which is funny because I was actually on my way out. So it's very it's like I can't do this.
So like you're pretty much into like let's wait a little bit and see what happens before I go out there into the world and start.
Yeah, I'm in no hurry to risk anything. Yeah. Like I understand the pressing nature, but I'll wait. We need to, basically.
But yeah, like I'm still struggling with what to do about that. because if there was still, I couldn't afford to do anything else because all I was doing was gigging, and that's it. And then this happens. I know we'll start gigging again because human beings want to be around other people.
Of course.
But there's still that element. It's like, I've struggled a lot with this the last like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
When I started getting the phone calls and I saw it coming. Like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And I was like, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Not ready quite yet. And that's a good thing. Even knowing your limit in that respect is good. But until phase 3, it's a moot point. It really shouldn't be happening at that, like, honestly. In Nashville especially. It's too busy when it gets busy. It's not a good look.
Yeah. It's too busy when it gets busy. That's like, very true.
I saw that picture floating around of the tin roof, wasn't it?
I didn't see it.
There was an odd picture floating around of the tin roof where they opened up and then it was just packed on like their second floor or some shit. Like packed, maskless bar nonsense. It might have been Franklin. I don't even think it was Nashville. I don't know where the tin roof is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it was just so this wild picture was floating around the internet. And I think maybe a day later, I was like, I'm done with Facebook. I can't handle so much of this. So
yeah, I just don't know. It's confusing.
I'm a guy who gets sick and I'm out. So.
Well, I've talked to someone recently. He's at that age. He's overweight.
Yeah.
He's got all the stuff. And he's a musician. It's what he does for a living, and people have been calling him for stuff. And he's like, I can't go out. I got to sub it out.
Well, I'm glad that he's at least like aware of that. Far too many people are like in the highest risk categories. Like, yeah, I'm going to do it. What I thought it
was funny is January, in like April, I'd go out like the once a month I would go out and leave my property, and like it was funny because all the high risk people, all the older people weren't wearing masks.
Yeah.
And all the younger people were, which I thought was cool. But I tell you what, I went out a few days ago and I wear my masks when I go out, Nobody. I mean, there was maybe like 3 people that I saw where I was and it was crowded.
You're out in Rutherford County on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're over 1,000 cases now, confirmed.
Yeah, so bad. Because it's just the exponential growth of what that looks like. Not to talk the numbers, but it's like, that gets rough very fast.
I mean, we were up to, 100,000 a week new cases in America for a while?
It was trending down by like 1% for a bit, if I remember correctly, in the Nashville. And then there was a recent spike because somebody didn't report. It was like, come on, guys. We need to know exactly this information. This is how we get and progress. So. Yeah,
there's so many people though that won't report anything. Oh, I'll walk it off.
Don't walk it off.
And there's so many. And it's affecting people in such different ways. Like every person seems to feel a little different than when one person has to go to the hospital and the other one's like, well, I lost my sense of smell for a little while. I couldn't smell the roses that were blooming in spring.
Yeah,
so I didn't go.
You hate to laugh because it's such a fucking shit show. But it is an odd thing because it kind of confirms their bias. It's like, I only got a little sick, or I knew somebody who didn't even notice. It's like, yeah, but that's not the norm, man. Come on. They're babies and old people. Just be nice to the babies and old people. The ones who can't stand your shitty decision. That's the people who have to do anything about it. So.
So going back to the music stuff.
We're sorry.
No. I know, right? Well, it's the good talking points. We got to talk about it. It's amazing. Well, I don't know if it's amazing, but it's definitely something that we're going to look back when we're old. Like, hey, I lived through this thing.
We're both the 80s. We have a lot of wild shit that we get to say we lived through.
Yeah, and hopefully, again, alluding to what I said before, hopefully by the end of this, we'll have stuff together more for musicians. Live streaming that actually pays you.
Yeah.
Music will have more value.
agree.
But going back to the music thing or your brand.
Yeah, what about it?
What's the toughest thing you've had to overcome?
For me, I think it's booking, but not in the way that like a lot of people complain about booking. There's the obvious things, is getting somebody on the fucking phone, that kind of stuff. Or like one email I got one time is your email. It sounds too professional, man. I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever. You shit me? That's your issue.
Wow.
God damn it. Anyways, so booking, and then you got your tricks to get your foot in the door. But the biggest issue I've seen is like, it's trying to convince them that the show is entertaining. Does that make sense? For like a solo artist? Because I show up and it's just me playing like an asshole, but like there's this really cool thing that I like to do for shows. Like I enjoy it. I think I do it well. So trying to convince them that what I have to offer is worth the amount on my guarantee, or even if like I'll play for gas money sometimes just to prove it to them.
Yeah.
And then I was like, next time around, hey, when you're playing for free, I'm just letting you know this was just to demonstrate that this is a good show. So that's my biggest problem, is like brand wise, is getting them to acknowledge that I'm not just some YouTube dick. So that's what I look like, and I get it, but I'm not. Yeah.
So what kind of places are you trying to book? I'm curious.
Okay, so for me, and we may have discussed this some time ago, but the nature with that I book is also a little different, because I don't turn anything down in that, like, is it a punk rock venue? Yeah, I'll play it. Is it a house show? Of course I'll play it. If it's a jazz hall or, a concert hall or whatever it is, I go for it. I go for whatever it is. Restaurants, like, I'll play the day crowd. I'll do whatever is available in my booking radius or like where I'm heading, just so I can do it. That way it's that like many streams make a river kind of thing. So I play a lot, and I play a lot of bullshit, but I can make ends meet because I played often enough, and it's just me, so it's easy.
Are you scared how much harder it might be after all of this?
It's gonna be impossible. Like I'm gonna wait, canary in the coal mine, some other solo artists, sacrifice them to the inevitable issues that will come with being on the road. But yeah, I anticipate it. I think there's going to be some initial excitement for like places like New York or places like, even Los Angeles, that'll be like, yeah, we want you out immediately. And it's like, I don't know, man. I'm not the one to open this back up.
I'm also afraid that's the other thing about playing too early that I'm afraid of. If we start playing now here, that's great. But there's a third maybe of venues that are open.
Yeah.
So the work's still not like what it used to be. And I'm thinking too, like if we're booking other shows in other cities, there might not be certain venues around anymore.
No, for sure. I've seen tons of venue closings that I've played or that my homies love or run or whatever. It's because they couldn't afford to not have business, which is the obvious part. But there's I've seen some people workshopping, like I think it was Kansas, where they did social distancing shows, where they had a venue open, artists on stage, but it was like 6 feet reserved seating kind of thing. Like that could work in Podunk, Kansas, but it can't work in a place like Nashville. We require the foot traffic. We require the bodies. That's the way you do it. Which is strange because they have so many people, but they value music so much more.
Yeah.
Kansas pays twice as much for 10 people in the audience than that does for a full house at some honky tonk. It's absurd. So, yeah, I want to see what places in the smaller parts of the United States do, because that'll definitely change the way the bigger music capitals handle what's going to happen. So
right on. So when you're on the road where you're doing your solo thing, talk about what gear you're taking, because we both endorse a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, we do. We have an odd similarity.
I know, isn't that funny? So what gear are you taking when you're doing your solo thing, and what are you taking when you do Fable Cry stuff?
Okay, so I have a small pedal board that I use for like every band. Like every band gets the same, 8 pedals or whatever it is. So it's like I guess I can list them. There is the hum debugger because it's obvious because my basses are noisy as shit. And then I have like that Boss noise suppressor, that standard thing. Then I have a regular compressor, for like an old school one from TC Electronics that I love because it's like a dual engine.
Yeah.
So it's like great for venue specific stuff. Like I can adjust it on the fly. It's all like the controls. So that's cool. And then I have a distortion pedal from DSM Noisemaker. Are you familiar with those guys?
Mm-mm.
They make a couple really, really rad cab sims, like cabinet simulators.
Yeah.
That I just don't own yet, but I need every one of them because of who I am. And then I have like just a dumpy reverb, and then that distortion pedal. And that's all that's what I bring. And the distortion pedal is for nothing. It's for me. I'm selfish and I like it, but I don't use it very often. And then a small looper. But my solo rig has grown so much. It's so absurd. And it went from being, basically what I just described to being, multi-tiered, many loopers. I have the GT, what is it, the RC300. The big loop station.
Yeah.
And then I also have the RC505 for the hands. Like it's the same engine basically, but it's 5 different stereo channels, and then that's for hands. And I bring my own mic, so I do a lot of beatboxing, and then a lot of looping, and then a lot of
that's tight.
Some pre-prepared tracks, but mostly it's like just doubling tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've been doing a lot of covers and doing some vocals as well, having my own microphone is ideal. So I always like sound like.
So how many pedals do you have on your pedal board total?
Oh my God, we're gonna count them together, my friend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then there are 10 here, so 18 altogether.
18.
Solo.
Cool.
Yeah, and like you can see this right here is my looper.
Aim it. Oh yeah, yeah.
That one. So my bass buddy and stuff. So yeah, standard setup, and then my basses.
Cool.
So but I also the thing that I enjoy, or I enjoy all of it in some way, but I use the Phil Jones, the suitcase. No, the briefcase. No, it's the suitcase. So the 4.5s. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah. That with the 410 or the 4.5 cab, extender piece, and then I use the suitcase mostly for home and for recording stuff, but sometimes I bring it along. So it's good because it has a battery, so I can just play outside if I want, and that's always kind of fun.
I noticed you're still using the bass buddy too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is in permanent like recording setup mode.
I take that to every session I do.
Yeah.
It's basically, I just see it as a direct box, to be honest with you. It's a direct box with some EQ that's clean. It's super, super clean. Yeah. With not a lot of coloration, which I love.
I bring it because I'm selfish and I like what I sound like and I like the way my cabs sound, and Jake basically reflects that. It's the same head as the briefcase back there, and it's it's perfect. Because I know exactly what that sounds like in these exact positions. Yeah. So that's my recording setup. Like I love that thing. So what I do for recording is that one's set up basically off the pedal board, and then I have one another signal run to the briefcase, which is kind of like a more sonic bass heavy frequency or settings, and then I have another one, basically the same thing, but for effects and one clean. So it's like 4 channels that I send whenever I send, or 4 stems when I send for everything that I send to people.
I've pretty got my pedal board set up where it's got everything I need on it. Like I know that if I need this kind of sound, this is exactly what I need to hit in order to. Like I have my R&B tone, which basically it recreates the 808.
Yeah.
So I have like the 808 sound right there. I'm actually doing a lot of that on my next record.
Oh, that's gonna be rad.
Yeah, lots of loops. I'm making lots of beats, and there's vocals on it, so I'm pretty stoked about it. And I have like same deal. I've got distortion pedals, reverbs. I've been using a lot of the Cusack stuff. I don't know.
Okay.
John, they're like, some of his stuff is like way out there. It's like most people are like, how would I use this? But cats like me and you, it's like, oh yeah,
for sure.
This is cool. Their sub fuzz is the bomb. I don't know if you ever played that or not.
No, I've not. I've not checked that out.
It's tight. It's tuned for guitar.
Okay.
So when you do, and you play, you would be in the right register on your high strings.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's always an octave lower.
Yeah.
But it's got a bit crusher, octaver kind of vibe going on.
Fun.
And when I use it on stage, people's fillings fall out. It's awesome.
That is exactly what you want. It's funny you're talking about pedals and like bit crushers, and I didn't think, but this right here, this table, is actually a pedal board.
Oh yeah,
inside of it. That I forgot I have so many more pedals than including a bit crusher. But I have the Miku Stomp. Are you familiar? It's this like Japanese voice mod thing, and it's just the Miku's like a digital pop star, and I run the Electro Faust. It's I don't know what they call, but it just sends like one tone.
Yeah.
To whatever. It's just a single signal. I send that to my Dwarfcraft, and it's just this nonsense of funny hand pedal that I spend far too much time doing instead of practicing my bass. So I forgot about that. I have more pedals than I should need, and definitely should be beat up for. So
yeah. You got any secrets in your pedal board? Stuff you're allowed to talk about? Because I've got some stuff on my board that are tricks that I know nobody else can do.
That's fine.
Sometimes I'll tell people. You're familiar with the DoD meat box?
Yeah, of course.
You know how they're kind of pricey now if you're able to find one. Let me open up my pedal board. So if you get the DoD FX25, which is their wah pedal,
okay,
the meat box circuit is in that.
Really?
So if you don't wah it out, like if you turn down the sensitivity, it's just the meat box.
That's funny.
And it's like $25.
That's way better. I want that. Look,
it's the green one.
Yeah, of course it is.
On the left, yeah.
Uh-huh. You need to not tell me this, because I will buy it, and then I will be poor. That $25 goes a long way right now. I'm so poor.
Seriously.
So don't give me any ideas. And also don't share this with anybody else.
Yeah. So is there anything little words of wisdom you'd like to give to anybody watching this right now?
This is funny. So I've been at this for a while. The solo artist thing, the band thing, you track your progress. You do it for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I helped this kid one time with his homework, right? He was like, help me with my college homework for music. It was at Berkeley, Boston, one of those kids. And he was like, how do you do the music business, basically? Stupid ass question he asked. And I was like, do you want my answer, or do you want the answer that'll get you a passing grade? And he was like, I want your answer, because he was a sweet boy. And I was like, all right, man. And I got to explain to him that the music business is the most flawed, intrinsically flawed business in all of the businesses. It's based on a system that has to devalue you to thrive. There's no reason we put up with so much. All artists do.
It's a mafia-based system.
It's the house always wins. It's the casino. You could play all day, and you might break even, but on average, you're going to lose out. And all that investment, it's worth it if you're okay with losing. It's why you do it. Like, gambling is fun if you don't need that money, right? Like, not saying go get another job, more of a understand the risk of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the biggest thing, because we all have big dreams. We all, like, my biggest dream ever was to play on, like, a major tour. And I did that so early. Like, at 18 and a half, I was, like, doing fucking Warped Tour. Like, it was so fast. And I was like, I'm done. I'm the most famous I can be right now. I'm fucking killing it. I signed chests, so I'm here. And then everything worse happened for the rest of music, because that was the early 2000s, and it was the whole shit show from basically 9/11 on. It was so much more difficult to do music for real. But yeah, so like, it's weird to imagine that people are going into music without realizing the amount of risk that it takes. So what I encourage people, young people, or anybody, is to do it more measured. If you jump whole ass both feet in and fail, you'll resent music for yourself, and you don't want that. If you actually love music, either take it slow or know that you run the risk of actual failure, and then accept that risk. It's that radical acceptance and understanding it. That side note, that kid never called me again, and was like, he definitely got an F on that test. So, because music business doesn't want to hear shit like, don't do it. Maybe think about something else. So, poor kid.
Yeah, and schools too, like music schools, they don't really tell you what it's like.
They're super critical.
They'll teach you how the business is run, sort of, in a major label situation, but they don't tell you what the hustle's like.
No, God no. I have a friend who moved from Boston, actually, to Nashville to make it. And it was hard, but she went from being a vocal major at Berkeley to being a violin player in Nashville, like a fiddle player. And she went from, no students, nothing, to like, she makes it work. She pays her mortgage but she busts her fucking ass. This little thing, all 5 foot nothing, is out every chance she gets, playing for whatever pays, doing like all the things. Most professional human being I've ever seen, like, by a wide margin, actually. Even for somebody, like, I know tons of workers, she blows them all away. And that's the hustle you need if you want to make it, especially in Nashville, but in general.
The best business people I've worked with in the industry have all been women.
Yeah. Yo, side note, that's the truest statement I've ever heard. Like, I know a bunch of keys players that fucking, break bank. I know that are ladies. I know a lot of, like, fiddle players, few bass player cats that are killing it out there. In the Nashville. None are coming to mind, which makes me sound sexist. I apologize. It's just I don't know a lot of names. But yeah, there's a lot of killer professional women in the business, which is my favorite thing. So I need to see them more in the union and doing the fucking showing everybody the fuck up.
Now that I'm thinking about it, let me ask you this thing.
Sure.
So this kind of happened to me. Mm-hmm. So you get off the Warped Tour, you attain what the young Scott wanted.
Yeah.
And then you get off it. Did you look around and were like, okay, now what?
Yeah. No, you have no idea what to do. You have no idea how to, because you weren't taught to think of that next step. You definitely can't envision that. It's the meta competency. You don't know what you don't know to know. Right? Like, mm-hmm. you might know what you don't know, like you can vaguely guess, but you're not, how can you envision what's out here in the infinite? So, like I didn't know what to do. I was getting sober, which was also like an impossible task at the time. There was all of the wrong things happened right after the best things happened. So yeah. It was just nonsense.
I know for me too, like the younger John had like these goals mm-hmm. that had less to do with money goals and more to do with respect goals.
Yeah.
And then I achieved those goals and a lot of my bigger influences were calling me their colleagues and stuff like that. And then I did it, and then I was like, oh shit. What do I do now?
What even happens? No, see, similar. When I first was popping off and like young, like 17, 18, and I was meeting all of the heroes around the Nashville scene and otherwise, I was stoked until they were assholes to me. And then I was like, oh, cool. I'm close enough for them to be shitty at me. This is the best. This is my goal now.
Isn't that amazing how that works?
Yeah. It was a very funny exchange. It went from, oh, I'm really into your work, vaguely. I've never heard it, but I love that other people love it. And then it's like, oh, you're kind of a dick to me. All right, man, fuck you too. I'm out. Like, we good. And now, because I'm in my 30s, they do, some of them eat NAMM show and all the big bass player get-togethers. It's like, you can't treat me like a kid. You know I look like this, and I haven't aged since I was 17, but I'm 37, man. Like, you don't get to treat me like the new kid on the block. I've been doing this for 20 years.
That's another thing I think I can relate to you on is that I know for me, like some circles, it's a clique.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big time clique. So I made my own. I made my own ground to walk on, and
I like it.
My own world, Mm-hmm. But, all right, bro.
Is that it? We done with this shit?
I think so. I think I'll let you go.
Man, I had a blast. This was awesome. I don't want to make it seem like I didn't enjoy this.
It was fun.
I haven't talked to musicians that I wasn't in a band with in a really long time. Because, who are you going to talk to? So it's like, this was good. And also, I like talking to you, and I don't get to do it enough. So it works out.
Yeah, this has been nice because I've been away from people in the musicians, in the business. So this has kind of been a nice way to get hooking up with people and talking and chatting and bouncing ideas off each other, and hopefully that somebody else gets something out of it too. Since we're recording,
I've had a blast, man. Seriously, it was enjoyable. I'm glad I had a chance to do it. Sorry about having to reschedule to today.
No, man.
From tomorrow. It was the one day, the one time I have a meeting. It just so happens to be when you wanted to do it, which is funny to me.
All right, brother.
All right, peace out, man.
Later, dude. Talk to you soon.